we're here. Like, people know who we are. People are aware of us.
Flux Footwear.
Flux Footwear.
Flux Footwear.
The Flux Footwear Adapt Runner.
We're going to unpack quite an interesting story here. Flux Footwear, totally bootstrapped. We sell through pretty quickly. There was traction. People wanted to invest. Yeah, just continue to bootstrap. So it was like 300K, 3 mil, 14 mil, 43 mil. That was the trajectory. Massive, right? The mission was like, how do we optimize the body? How do we just get people better? Then realized how important our feet are to our overall health. Your entire body, right? Like, that's your foundation. If you're only selling footwear, I have to imagine that it's quite a bit harder to get that second purchase. There's not a ton of margin for learning. Got to be one of the hardest categories, especially in footwear. You have to literally earn that second purchase. You have to earn it. You have to spend marketing dollars. Most of us want to buy the shoe what everyone else is wearing, right? I think why we've found some vast, strong growth is we found that middle ground of providing value and aesthetically offering something different in that space. And that's the next hurdle for us is, can we compete with the big boys? We have this threshold, but like, how can we break through? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode, a footwear episode, first ever footwear episode on Making Sense, the podcast. We've got Isaac Mertens here, the founder and CEO of Flux Footwear. Isaac, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted Isaac on because we're gonna unpack quite an interesting story here. So Flux Footwear, totally bootstrapped, and I always thought, okay, like it can make sense to like bootstrap like certain types of brands, but apparel and specifically footwear, I think, are like very, very difficult. So Isaac is coming on the program to kind of unpack that with us. So let's start sort of at like the beginning, Isaac, in terms of like, what's your background? Why'd you get started with Flux? Like, what gave you this idea? Footwear has got to be one of the hardest categories. So I don't know how much you like pain, but yeah, give us sort of like the founding story.
Yeah, I must be a glutton for it for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is pretty important. But I actually have an accounting background.
Okay.
And I was taking my CPA exams and realized this is not what I want to be doing for the next 4 years. I was hired to McGladrey, I think was the name of it. They RSM.
Oh, okay.
I think a big five.
Yeah,
one of the big fives. So yeah, I was scheduled like after the summer I graduated, was studying. I actually quit the month before I was supposed to go and kind of started my own entrepreneurial journey. I actually launched a Etsy furniture brand.
Equally as painful as footwear.
Yes. It's fun. Yeah. Every category has its pluses and minuses, and I'll go into it. It's really interesting. So, it was right at the moment when Etsy, like if you would have asked, hey, do you know what Etsy is? 9 out of 10 people wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that's literally flipped.
Right.
9 out of 10 people know. So like we hit it just perfectly. And actually we scaled that to a 7-figure run rate, which like on Etsy was, it's pretty impressive. Like it was not what we were expecting. It was just me and another buddy, and we built it just to make furniture, because back then like that really wasn't, it was pipe and wood industrial furniture. And that really wasn't the end style. You could get cheap product made and from like Hobby Lobby and from China, but not like the actual steel. Like we use actual gas line pipe and lumber. So, and it was very much like the IKEA model. So like they would build it in their house, and it was really interesting too, because it set me up for this, you know, the glutton of pain to your example, because in my mindset it was basically all on demand. So we would buy all the raw materials.
Like Etsy,
They would select their stain color, their sizing. So to them it was custom. To us, we just had, you know, a 16-foot, you know, 2x12, cut it to size, stain it, and had them deliver it, you know, them assemble it. So like shipping, what was pretty easy. Like we didn't have to palletize anything. So inventory was a concern. If we didn't use the lumber, we could return it back to the lumber yard. Yeah. So yeah, like it was tough, but like return rates were sub 1. Footwear, it's 30s. then inventory, we have millions of dollars of inventory, and at any point, like I could go to zero. There's just no inventory. I could go every day to the lumberyard and pick up what I needed. So anyways, that was like my first kind of dabbling of entrepreneurship, e-com. But as we all know, Etsy's a marketplace. You're kind of beholden to the algorithm, the searching, where you list,
you
how
were like
you rank.
generating any of your own demand. You just listed it on Etsy. Okay.
Yep. And exactly. And that's where I'm saying we hit it perfectly, because we became one of the top furniture brands on Etsy. And then there was a massive resurgence during COVID. Like Etsy just blew up. And we got a benefit from all that. So like, I didn't really have chops from a sense of like marketing. But I was able to like really understand and learn like the finance side, profit side. Again, that was all bootstrapped as well. And just, like how do you build a profitable company? So end up selling that to my partner actually. And then while
is it still a thing?
While we were, it's still it's still on Etsy. So
cool. What's it called?
It's called Brandon Built.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Cool. So while that furniture company was happening, I really began to realize that there wasn't this brand. It was, hey, I got this thing on Etsy. It wasn't, hey, I got this thing from XYZ brand. And I wish I could say like I intuitively knew, but intuitively knew the risk of that, but really just like wanted to build this brand that generated your own demand and kind of like wasn't beholden to Etsy. And it ended up being a smart move. Like Etsy is struggling, from a stock perspective and from a demand perspective from standing. So definitely the right move. And just was kind of searching around on like realizing that meta ads was the unlock, and like how you really built the brand, really could build a brand. What's really fascinating, and again, it's like feels archaic at this moment, but it was back when media buying agencies were talking about, we'll scale your revenue. Like that, that's all they cared about was how do you scale revenue versus now we're talking about contribution margin. I mean, literally, buyers.
There's a lot of them still out there though that are like that. Yeah.
Well, it is. Yeah. But as a Iris customer, love the product, not sponsored, nothing.
Yeah.
It's my daily contribution margin tracker. Right. And again, I think that's a pretty core piece of all this, of just like profit was always the number one driver, even with the Etsy brand. Like there wasn't this, of course we want to increase revenue, but anyways, like all these media buying agencies that we were looking at as we were building, like starting Flux was like all about revenue. And I was like, this just doesn't make any sense to me.
It's crazy. It's literally crazy.
Yeah. And that's where it was. And really, so want to build a brand, really kind of got into this holistic, natural space because I have a pretty severe chronic health issue, and was able to find some healing through that kind of more holistic functional medicine, and really just kind of started investing in that myself. This is when Athletic Greens and Whoop and a lot of these like Oura Ring, a lot of these biometric data companies, supplements companies were really kind of starting to take off.
Like what year is this?
And began to realize how important this is. 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
2018,
totally.
2019.
Yep.
So then realized, how important our feet are to our overall health. I mean, improper footwear causes bunions, back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, like your entire body, right? Like that's your foundation. You have hundreds of nerve endings, hundreds of bones, and there's a couple different players in the barefoot shoe space. And
let's take like one step back in terms of like, so you are considering sort of the space, and then you ultimately decide on like barefoot shoes. Like how is that? Who are the players at the time? Like, did you think the market was appealing, or like what drew you? Like, how did you arrive here?
really how it happened was we approached this in kind of three different capacities. There was an apparel direction, a footwear direction, and then we were actually going to start like a biometric data, like kind of concierge. We were going to use your biometric data to then build a diet plan, because you actually consume carbs and protein differently. So depending on how your body digests those, should you have more, protein or carb or whatever? And then also, what should your workout be? Like we have fast twitch muscles and we have slow twitch muscles. Fast twitch are like bodybuilders, slow twitch are long distance. And we naturally have one or the other. Again, that should direct your workout plan. So we're taking all this data to then go deliver kind of a biometric health plan. We were going consumer, as well as we had a commercial. We actually had a 6-figure contract lined up with dentist office for like employee engagement. So, right, like if your employees are happy and healthy, their output is better. So this was kind of like an employee engagement angle.
Interesting.
And COVID hit. So again, we kind of started this like 3-way path of like, how do we, and the mission was like, how do we optimize the body? How do we just
one way or the other
better? Yeah, one way or the other. Yeah. And it's like, okay, let's just try these different approaches. And this is what we're kind of interested in. I really couldn't tell you like why I felt footwear was the right direction outside of like brand, right? Like apparel and footwear it's a cultural, it shifts culture, right? That was what the mindset was, hey, how do we shift culture? Well, apparel or footwear could do that. And then we had like the tech side. I just thought Whoop and it's still an incredible company, but like that biometric data concept was just so neat. And I kind of nerd out about software. I have no background in it at all, but it's just like all magic to me. So yeah, I think again, subconsciously it's a little bit like wanted to do some software, wanted to do product, and just see what happened. But the underlying mission and really what I still stand for is like, if I'm going to sell something, it's got to provide value to someone. Like I'll get into it, but immigrant growth marketer, what was a paid media buyer, and like I could sell anything. I sold actually tattoo ink for a company. We sold I can't think of the name of the brand, but I sold like camping equipment. I sold firewood. They were out in Tennessee, I think. Yeah, they sold firewood online. So anyways, could sell anything, but really wanted to provide like value to the customer. So sorry, I'm kind of jumping around a bit. So we'll go back, and there was a couple players. Zero and Vivo were the big guys. And then you had Vibram, right? The toe shoes. And it was just like, the toe shoes. There's no way I'm the toe shoes, right? And I actually had those in high school, and I was so embarrassed. I work out in my basement. I wouldn't let my mom see me in them, right? Yeah. And that was just, it's like the idea of Microsoft versus Apple, right? I felt like these brands really had great function. They have a great product, but the branding wasn't there. And the idea was to build this Apple-esque marketing, even like what Lululemon did for yoga. Used to be this weird, crunchy, Eastern practice. And now it's, yoga moms and there's a persona about it, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the goal. Like we wanted to turn this barefoot shoe into
something that like a normal person could wear, because I don't want
normal person.
Yeah, those
exactly. Yeah. And yes, and that was the thesis.
Okay. And that's the key. It worked out. Yeah. So that's the key insight.
That is the key insight. And we were able to go execute that. Yes.
Okay. And then so this is 2021.
So the idea first started in 2018. Over the course of 2 years, we developed the actual shoe, our first shoe, and then we launched on Indiegogo. So like during those 2 years, we were pursuing each of these paths. And then depending on if we hit a roadblock, like I was talking about the biometric company, like right towards the tail end of COVID, or sorry, right at the beginning as COVID was happening, like that got shut down. So then we kind of pursued the footwear side, and the apparel didn't quite work.
Gotcha.
Yes. So then 2020 hits, we launch on Indiegogo actually. So we crowdfunded we raised $50,000.
Okay. Is that what you were trying to raise, or how much?
Yeah, transparently, like we wanted to. That's when like Etsy, or not Etsy, geez, that's when Vessi was kind of like the golden poster child of crowdfunding, and they raised $1 million. So like that we wanted to do a couple 100,000 at minimum, but like $1 million, right?
Right, 50K. Run it.
Yeah. So again, where we're at, mid 8 figures, and it's like 50K. Yeah. The path,
not
we were
bad.
not like,
not bad.
That was thankfully we were not discouraged to be like, well, this didn't really work, or like this wasn't going to be where we're going to go. I do think we kind of felt like that demo of crowdfunding, like it is very different from like D2C versus like techie wanting the first new innovative thing. Just very different. Wasn't our target demographic, frankly, so makes sense why it didn't really work out. So that's like the start of kind of
was that Indiegogo 50K, was that like the only money that you put in to start it, or like did you consider raising any money?
No. Yeah, so like I'd said, I'd sold that furniture company, so I had some exit money. Okay. And what I basically did was lend like a personal note to the company. Okay. Yeah. So I had my dollars. Yep.
Okay.
So
good.
That was technically
the seed investment,
the money, and the seed investment, and that was really important. Was that from the get, like realizing we didn't want other voices in the company, right? And like having ownership, and not having all these other people that were, because that was a big thing, is scale no matter what. That was right when Allbirds was really happening, and that we kind of all there was way more scale and growth than what probably should have been that fast, because of just VC money. So that was kind of the idea of like, we want to grow profitably at our own pace. So I made sure like to put the dollars in to retain the equity.
Let's talk a little bit about like the launch phase, because the company's not that old. You've grown a ton. I mean, I would consider it to be a big, like, real company at this point. How did it go from launch? Because like, I think, one thing that we were talking about before we started recording here is like apparel, like we can use like apparel as like the umbrella term. The thing about like an apparel company, like broadly, is like you can get repeat purchasing like pretty quickly. Like if you sell t-shirts and pants and socks and shoes and whatever else. But if you're only selling footwear, I have to imagine that it's quite a bit harder to get that second purchase. And so then layer in the fact that you're bootstrapped, it's kind of like there's not a ton of margin for learning, really, in terms of like launching and like getting off the ground. So tell us a little bit about like, how did the launch go? Like, was it instant success, or like, were you like nervous at one point, or like it was kind of a slow, but like walk me through a little bit about that time.
So 5 years old, right? Like from when we first were able to buy the first Flux shoe, we're basically 5 years old, even though development, it's 7 years. So in 2020, what's also really difficult, apparel is a little bit shorter, but footwear is basically like 5 to 6 months from like you place the PO, and it takes 5 to 6 months.
Okay, so the lead time's long.
Yeah, the lead time's really long.
Is it coming from China?
We're in Vietnam.
Vietnam, okay.
Yeah, we were in South Korea to start, then in China, and now we're in Vietnam. Okay. But really long lead times. So great. We launched on Indiegogo. We won't even get the shoes for 6 months. So we're kind of like just twiddling our thumbs. Yeah, we're like not kind of doing a whole lot. And then we sell through them like really pretty quickly. Again, I was a self-trained media buyer, worked for an agency, Common Collective, kind of self-taught. So I was a media buyer and like really was kind of scaling the account. Then it's funny. I talked to older media buyers than me, and it's like the glory days of 10 years ago, right?
Oh man.
And of like the glory days of 5 years ago.
Yeah, don't even get me started.
Yeah, even like 2 years ago. It's like, dude, I wish we were back at,
Dude,
whatever,
it used to be stick $1 in, get 6 out, and just
we back then it was stick 1 in, get 3 out. Now it's stick 1 and get 1 and 20 cents
stick
out.
1 in and get nothing out. Yeah.
Yeah, you won nothing out. So anyways, we found very quick, fast success. And that was kind of the problem, is that, we were young, we were self-funded, and it was the chicken and egg scenario. And I think this is important for a lot of brands to realize this, is that this has been the biggest thing. When you need the money from a bank, the bank is very hesitant to give you the money. And then when the bank is very confident to give you the money,
you don't need the money.
Well, I really don't need the money anymore. Yeah. And that was the problem, is I'm pleading with my local banker. I'm like, if you give me the money, then we'll be like, we're able to hit this. We'll like getting you to a place of being comfortable lending to us. I need you to lend me the money so that I can prove you can be comfortable. So that was the problem, right? Is like we could only get so much inventory. And again, right, that's kind of the benefit of the VC money, and like totally can see that.
Yeah. You get to take a few you get to make mistakes, and you get to try things
and grow fast. Like there's no limits on that. I mean, and that was probably 2 years of that, like up and down. Like we'd buy inventory, and again, it was our own money, so like we didn't want to go bankrupt. So we were really conservative, and we only sold 50K. We weren't expecting this to just be this incredible, massive thing. So fairly conservative. And for 2 years, it was literally like we were in stock maybe 4 months out of 24 months. Like we would sell through
That's brutal.
all the inventory so quickly, and then have to wait, right? That 5 to 6 months. So it was extremely brutal.
But you don't even think it wasn't even a demand constraint. It was just supply, given these long lead times and the bootstrap nature.
Yeah.
So you basically, and so that was kind of like what I was asking. It was like, it almost doesn't make sense. And that was like before you layered in a 6-month lead time. So like then it now like definitely doesn't make sense. So what you're saying actually does make sense from the standpoint of like, you can't just like launch and like take off with like this kind of an economic model under these types of constraints in the footwear category, given you're not funded and you're not, and the lead times are long. Okay. So keep going. That makes perfect sense. 2 years. I bet. Yeah. That makes,
So kind of like skipping ahead, I think, because it'll be helpful for some context. So basically, the first year was like 300K.
That's a pretty good first year,
300K in revenue. Yeah, no, it was. Yes, yeah. And again, it is tough. Like once you found success, it's kind of like, well, of course these things happened, or it's not as good, but in the moment, it's like awesome. Because we weren't expecting it. So definitely not trying to minimize it. So there was traction, right? Like we were putting a lot.
That's a good way to say it. There's traction
of money on for sure, and people wanted to invest, but it wasn't like software valuation type level stuff. Like again, if they were gonna give us a $50 million valuation, might have considered it, but like that, no one was willing to do that. So just continue to bootstrap. So it was like 300K, 3 mil, 14 mil, 43 mil. So like that was the trajectory. It was massive. And like once we got inventory, once we got an SBA loan, like I definitely got to shout that program out. Once we unlocked that, massive, right? And that was very low interest rate. It was huge.
How much was it?
So we got a 300K. It was a $300,000.
And that was in the year that you went from 300K to 3 million, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I can't quite remember exactly when it was, but that would have been like from the 3 to 14. that's what really allowed us.
Really?
I'll also share this. Terms are everything. We've recently moved manufacturers, and we were on even at our size and scale, mid-8 figures, cash flow positive, like really profitable. We were 50% deposit, 50% X factory, and even a change from 30% deposits.
Oh yeah,
and 70% 30 days X factory
changes everything.
I don't know. Like it unlocks millions of dollars.
Yeah,
like
it just your scale for sure.
It's just I don't know how to like compare it, but it was like the floodgates, even at our size and scale. So that's where we were at, was like at the beginning, we had those 50, like that's pretty typical. I would even with apparel, I wouldn't be surprised. It's kind of 50-50. We were able to get to, did we get up to a 90? I think we were at like 20% deposit and like, pay 90, like that was massive, 60 to 90. Yeah. And that along with the SBA was what allowed just kind of infinity scale at that point. Yeah. Like there was no need. Like we paid off the SBA loan like in like 9 months or something like that.
These markets
and haven't borrowed anything.
These markets, like these apparel footwear markets, they're like some of the biggest markets in consumer. So like assuming that you have like a good product, like the demand will be there. You obviously have to compete for it in terms of like media or point of sale, like whatever else. But the markets are there. Like, Skechers was bought for $9 billion and like the biggest, one of the biggest deals of 25. So like these are giant markets because literally it's basically a need. Like footwear is like basically like a need in the same way that like housing is like a need.
Commodity.
So everybody needs it. Everybody does it. And so like what you're describing, like I would call like balance sheet financing, which is like all financing, but like bear with me here for a second, like balance sheet financing from the standpoint of like SBA loan for a couple $100K and then like terms, like you're working like the liabilities and the AP equation there. I want to talk a little bit about how you thought about like P&L financing, so like unit economics and scaling, and you mentioned like contribution margin and all that. So maybe you guys were kind of ahead of the curve on that, but like you launch, we spend 2 years basically figuring out how to supply this market. And then once the growth really kicks in, how did you guys think about scaling? Because it would have been really easy at some point to fall off your discipline and just like somehow, I mean, everybody does it, like somehow justify, higher growth, because you're already growing a lot. So talk to me a little bit about how you guys thought about gross margin discipline, unit economics, growth, profitability, all that stuff.
Exactly. And that's why I mentioned the accounting background.
Because I didn't know that about you.
It's so important. I mean, that anytime I jump on a podcast, like I always try and like at least sneak it. It's like, know your numbers. Like it's so important. It's everything. I mean, I always say, if you don't have $1 in your bank account, you don't have a business anymore, right? Yeah. And that's just the mindset I've always taken, and like knowing your numbers intimately and obsessing about them. I mean, again, before the call, you said it took a couple years for you guys to realize when the top sales month was for you guys. At Mad Rabbit, and that's what it is. It's like literally years. It is just like obsessing about your numbers year after year, month after month, because you're gonna massively scale, and then you're not gonna grow very much, and those are very different situations of how money flows in and out, and so that's where it's like literally I still approve every single transaction. I approve everything. No one pay. I don't have an in-house account or anything. Like I approve everything, because it's just like that discipline of knowing where and what the money is going into. I check the credit card statement like every day. And it just understanding and knowing and intimately knowing what you're spending on a day. Again, Iris is great to be able to like track it on software, but like you almost need to know it.
You have to like internalize it. Yeah. Like
you have to know it. Like I know what, yes, exactly. Because if you don't, then you're going to wait 2 to 3 weeks to then have the data tell you what you should have known. And right. It's so, yeah, that's like, it's not sexy. It's not fun. I mean, yeah. And it's really not like a Twitter, I don't know, tactic even, but it's that, like, I don't know exactly how to teach or direct it, but
yeah,
it's just literally doing it all the time. And like, literally that's what I contributed it as. Cause I'm like, I don't really know. I have really simple North Star metrics. Like I think we might've talked or something, or I forget who I was talking with, but it's like, what's your forecasting or what do your models look like or whatever? I'm like, honestly, I have a set daily contribution margin percentage. And if we hit that, I know I can spend unlimited dollars because I know you're asking about gross margins. So our target is about 80%. However, it's also really important, especially in apparel and footwear, is your AOV. So 80% of an $80 AOV product does not generate the contribution total margin dollars that 150, right? So especially as we're seeing Facebook CAC rise, like frankly, we won't sell a product under $130 on Meta anymore, but simply because of like, what's the floor? And this is kind of becoming more of a topic conversation. Like there's a floor CAC. No matter what, like Meta will never, you can never acquire a customer under this certain threshold because it's so expensive anymore. But for us, it's around 80 to 90 bucks. 2 years ago, it was like 50. And it's just crazy. So it's like, no matter what the product is, even if the product's $30 cheaper, it still costs 80 bucks to acquire the customer. Right. So as a general practice, about 80% gross margins for us. So like we do have very healthy margins, like jewelry, supplement. Like I think it's one of the most healthy top gross margin products there is. So again, right, that's the benefit as well. And then really I like to keep like our OpEx like under 10%. Like I had very rigid percentages that like our target, Taylor Holiday talks a lot about like 4-quarter accounting. And like the top of the top brands, have that 25% profit margin, right? So like that was my target. And 25% marketing costs, 25% like COG cost, 25% like software people, like operation costs. So anyways, like I had very specific percentages, and that's what helped
as we beginning.
Yes,
since the beginning. Okay,
from day one.
Like, how did those change as you scaled? Like, I get like how many like, if you can share, like how much like gross margin have you gained since you did 3 million that 1 year? Like, is that kind of the driver?
Yes, it's actually really interesting. There is not a lot of play in footwear. Like you're not, like a shoe, I'll use fairly accurate, like $20 a pair is pretty standard. There's no way you're going to get 15.
Really?
Like, never. Never. No, like we're Nikes, maybe $1 or $2. Like, right. If we're like 1 for 1, they'd maybe be getting $1 or $2 more. It would be my gut. I mean, you're the one that likes to look at all the whatever the K10s.
I haven't looked into that one
yet. You look at it, but yeah, there's not a lot of play. I think it's like 5 or 10%, or sorry, 5 or 6% profit margin for footwear factories. So like they don't have a ton of margin to play with. So
basically,
yeah. So really, like the margin you're talking about is that repeat. And that's been the massive game changer for us, is that we've really slowed down in the new customer acquisition. Like I mentioned, like we've seen like a $20 CAC, $20-$30 CAC increase. However, we've been able to make a portion of that up, that now we have 2 to 3 years. Right now we're at a size and scale for a couple of years that repeat rate is starting to make a meaningful difference.
Oh,
like
really?
Now we have,
that's fascinating.
Now we have 20 or 30% repeat rate where it was like sub 10. Like,
Yeah.
Or it was, I mean, right, we're talking, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of repeat versus tens of thousands. Like, right, that was the comparison.
Interesting.
So that efficiency loss is being able to be made up by, because again, to your point, like we're not hard goods, we're not consumables, so there is repeat, and you know, like people, sneakerheads have tens, hundreds of pairs of shoes, so like you do have those whale of customers that, you know, can make up a meaningful amount, but yeah, it is there's a decent amount. It's, I'm trying to think of, it's essentially where we're at from a 1 year LTV top of mind. I think we're at about 50, like 50%, 50 to 60%. So it's not nothing. Like it's
what do you mean by that? Say that differently.
So basically it's like AOV of $100.
Yeah.
150.
Oh, 100.
So
okay. Yeah, sure.
100, like, so yeah, like we gain $50 of.
So then what about over like 3 year, like let's say your cohort from January of 2023.
Yes. Yep.
Like what is the
down to $300. About $300.
Oh, so 150.
Yeah, so like 100 to 300 in 3 years.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, there's kind of like a 3-to-1 LTV to CAC is kind of like the gold standard.
Right.
I forgot who I'd heard that, but like, again, kind of PE guys like look for that.
Do you know why?
No, I don't.
Nobody knows why. Okay, so
no one explains why. Hopefully this is like
it's because, so first of all, it's on contribution, it's not on revenue, but like basically if you have a 3-to-1 LTV to CAC, that means that every one customer that you acquire generates enough profit for you to acquire 2 more customers. So it turns exponential. So if I acquire 1 customer, they create profit for me to buy 2 more. So now I have 3 customers. And they create enough profit for me to get
2-to-1.
6 more.
Yeah, 2-to-1, you're just stagnant.
And so on 3-to-1 LTV to CAC, the growth curve is exponential.
It's infinity.
2-to-1 LTV to CAC, it's a 45-degree angle. It's 1 for 1. I acquire 1 customer, they give me enough money to buy another customer. So that's why 3. I was just having this conversation with somebody else. I forget.
Interesting.
I have like a little model that I made where you can like play with it. You can see the curve change.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
So basically, like, let's say like $300, like sort of like lifetime. I imagine that's like revenue, right?
Revenue. Yeah. I don't have top of mind to your point.
But the margin
3-to-1 contribution.
The margin is so high on the second purchase though, that like it's more baked back there. That's why supplements brands, you know, can scale so nicely.
It's monster.
But so like that makes sense, and I would be really curious to watch you over the next couple of years, because if you can stack those cohorts, and if they really do come back with like any meaningful, you know, velocity, I don't know if I would say like I'm not gonna like maybe start advocating that you like budget to that per se, but it does give you quite a bit more gross profit to throw around, and that's probably how you're gonna get to that next scale, like, you know, 100 million plus. Like you probably have to dig in a little bit harder in terms of like what I'm doing for folks. Yeah,
that's a great point. I mean, yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking in sense of from like awareness type spend, because again, like we're here, like people know who we are. We're not Hoka by any means, but like we're aware, or like people are aware of us, and so like now when you start competing with them from like a media awareness stance. And like, really, that's where my head's at right now, is like, what am I willing to pay now? And when's that payback period from like a top of funnel incrementality, right? Like all the things that you do to do your best. But yeah, that's exactly. And to your point, tying that back into that LTV, lifetime will be a really important.
This is where the forecast model kind of matters, I think, for you, because like, you know, you said like I have a percentage of contribution or whatever. And like, that's like your good, like tactical sort of like model or whatever. But like, it might help to think a little bit about like, okay, like if this trend keeps up, like what does the business look like in 30 months in terms of, you know, what percentage of the, because like, you know, it's everybody goes to like terminally like 30% new customer revenue. And then like, hopefully by then, like the only way that you scale from then is like your repeats just going, you know, hockey stick type That's really interesting. You're at a very interesting juncture for your category.
Yeah, you kind of helped me realize that a little bit too. Because I agree with you that forecasting, and maybe that's why, right? Because it's like, to your point, hard goods, as it's been talked quite a bit, where it's like you have to be first order profitable. That's another thing I've kind of skipped over, is like that. Again, I didn't want to. Everyone kind of knows that at this point, or maybe I shouldn't assume, but yeah, like that's kind of the standard. Again, supplements or high repeat, it's kind of like break even at the first. So, but for us, it was always first order profitable. And now thinking through, to your point, like we can expect that repeat, how aggressive we can go. So like I didn't really need to think about those future customers coming back as much, just because it wasn't that impactful.
It wasn't there.
We were a subscription. So I do think that that's a great point, Drew, from it's just specifically speaking to like apparel, hard good, not obvious subscription, probably isn't that important. Again, everyone's different, but from my experience, that's why it wasn't that critical and crucial. But I did work for a coffee brand and was a growth advisor for them, and like repeat rate, like that's all I focused about. So that I think that's
it's the same thing. It's just over a much longer time frame, where like I would be really, I don't know footwear that well, but I would be curious of the $100 million plus footwear companies, like what percentage of their revenue is new versus repeat generally. Like I'm starting to think it's probably like a lot of repeat. Like if you've done 100 million in sales lifetime, I'm guessing. So like, that's a lot of customers. And they might only come back once every 3 years or whatever, but you're almost 6 years old now. So those first cohorts are coming back for their, third bite even. So it's a truly compounding effect.
What's really interesting too, Drew, is that specifically, I think, and this fits into apparel too, is that I don't know. I feel like there's this assumption once you have acquired a customer, they're yours forever. Like, especially in footwear, you have to literally earn that second purchase. Probably not to the same degree. Like I'd say, I don't know, 30-40% easier. Oh, that's pretty arbitrary, but like it's easier. You have to earn it. Like you have to, that's the big thing that you have to spend marketing dollars, not just email, SMS sends. Like you have to digitally advertise to them again. Or else, I mean, there's 20 incredible legacy decades old brands that get hot. And I think like trends are a really big deal too. Like I said, cultural moving earlier, whatever's culturally relevant, like people like to really hop in. Again, we've seen this too, that people aren't as brand loyal anymore, especially I think with the Aloe and Lululemon. Like there's a lot of amazing brands that have kind of like become culturally relevant that I feel like have maybe like fundamentally shifted how consumers purchase versus I feel like there just used to be these massive conglomerate style brands that really there wasn't other options. Now there's so many incredible fabrics and products.
And I mean, but that's a huge drawback of the category too, because it's like, okay, you said lead months are 6 times. So like, or sorry, 6 months, lead times are 6 months. I literally said that backwards. So like, if like all of a sudden, like, whatever freaking fabric you're using is like not eco-friendly enough or whatever, like you're screwed kind of thing. Like, I don't know if this is.
I think Allbirds
telling you about
that a little bit.
How like Zara like makes the clothes on the boats. Is that like? Have you heard that before?
I haven't heard of that.
This might be like impressive. This might be like urban legend, but like somebody told me one time. I'm probably making this up, but like that Zara, like the reason that they're so like on trend all the time is because like they literally have like manufacturing like on their boats, and so like they'll make it like as it's coming over, kind of a thing.
Yeah, depending on the product. Like, again, footwear's tough. Like, everyone asks me, could you guys, similar to like what Crocs does, or, like you can supplement, you can make limited runs. Mm-hmm. It's tough. Like, you can't, that's the other really tough thing about footwear. And I think certain apparel, like, again, you can like embroider certain things on apparel a little easier than footwear. But yeah, like Crocs, that's why Crocs is really the only brand that, you know, has so many collabs and so many different color variations is, I mean, it's like a die cast piece of foam, and it's really easy to print things versus like, I mean, a shoe, I don't know, probably has like 10 to 15 different pieces that you have to source to have a single piece.
Dude, and then like
there's a lot.
I mean, I'm looking at your website and it's like the Adapt Runner. Okay, so the Adapt Runner has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors. And then 1,
and
2,
then sizes
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 sizes.
Yeah.
Like, I am so good on that.
Inventory is tough. Like size curves. Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's always pros and cons to each. So yeah, inventory planning is like really important and really big.
Yeah.
And yeah, thankfully, yeah, we did that well. I know, I mean, Under Armour, it was pretty well known a year or two ago or something like that. I mean, they had a write-off, was it a billion or a couple billion or something like that of just like inventory.
Yeah.
That just wasn't going to get sold or what. Like,
yeah, that'll kill you.
Massive. Yeah, you does it often. But yeah, like I know Under Armour, that was a really big hit for them a year or two ago. It's just right off inventory because yeah, it's tough. It's a really, really tough game on that front.
So last thing I'm curious on before we bump up on time here, how are you thinking about the category broadly from like, I'm not trying to suggest that like you're interested in selling the business at some point, but like what I like to, for people who have reached your scale, which is like what I would call like critical mass probably.
Sure.
Like, do you have any opinion on like what is like the next like sort of like valuable strategic asset for footwear? Like, is there something like new going on here? Like what do you have to do to kind of be like an appealing acquisition target in like a footwear business? Because I again, know nothing. Totally. I know very little about this specifically, so I'm curious your take.
I've been having a lot of interesting conversations with, you know, PE firms, especially kind of at our size and scale. And I'd say that there's a couple core themes, right? Decker's CEO publicly has said that they will never acquire a brand that is not in retail. Just from a sense of like what again, we've seen this. Name me a brand that's kind of like popped onto the scene that has been started in under 10 years ago. Like there's been a couple, but like they've fallen, you know, pretty hard. And there's been some that have resurged out in like this brand came out of nowhere. Well, come to find they've been around for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
And it just ebbs and flows. And that's kind of what he was talking about, is that these D2C brands, these online only brands, you know, there's no staying power. So for sure, retail, again, that was his own opinion. But for sure, like retail is a big driver. Look, touch, feel, like that's a really important try on, is big for footwear, obviously. True. So that's really big. You know, the other side is that if the acquirer has connections in big box and in retail, then like we could in theory be like the perfect add-on where it's like we have product market fit, and well, we could immediately get you into 2,000 stores, right?
Yeah,
so like that,
what aisle you're in or like what locations and all that. Yeah.
That was the other thing I was gonna go into is who bought Skechers?
It's called 3G Capital.
Is it South America? Is that where they're
I'm not sure.
No.
Maybe.
I thought it was Skechers, but anyways, it's like these.
Yeah, they're Brazilian. They're Brazilian.
Brazilian. Okay, I thought so.
I didn't know that.
Okay, good. Yes, Brazilian. Yep. Because I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, totally.
That was like, oh, is that different expertises? And frankly, I do think ego plays in it too, where it's like, hey, they're in like high fashion. Think like women's booties or heels or whatever, and we're athletic. So to your point, you're saying different aisles. They're in the fashion aisle and they want to open up into the athletic. That one I have like really thought through. Another what was kind of interesting was I might have overspoken in terms of like cogs between like where we're at in other brands, even though I have like an On and Hoka, and like their gross margins are like, I think it was like 58% or something like that, and like we're right there as well. So I think that's why I had some confidence in saying that. But there is some economies of scale in the sense of like, if they're in this factory and they buy us and they can get $1, $2, you're talking millions of dollars of like literally dollars on your bottom line. So again, depending on acquisition price and strategy, all those things, those would be the common themes. And expertise. Like, again, there's a lot of old dogs in footwear, and in knowing digital is a skill and asset. And like for us, we're one of the best. And work with some of the best. So we could come in and provide that skill set. So those are all of the different areas and aspects and like possibilities or structures that.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's anything you should think about. And let me know. I wonder if there's anything even like a little bit more like secular in terms of like, like the big tailwind for like food and bev is like this GLP-1 thing. And not even just food and bev, but like also VMS. Like, people need more fiber when they're on GLP-1 or whatever. So like, I wonder if like there's anything, obviously like wellness broadly is hugely popular. And like you guys are like a uniquely functional type of footwear brand. So, like there might be something secular there that's kind of contributing to your growth.
I've been thinking about that, like the better for you. It's been fascinating that the better for you has kind of stuck in food and bev.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
it's most mature there. It's most mature.
The brand. Yeah. Yes, exactly. The branding of it. But like you really don't like non-toxic. That's been something we've seen in like some comments, like where non-toxic is like the brand of good for you. Of like non-food and bev. So like non-toxic cookware, non-toxic footwear. It's good for you. So that's been kind of interesting, but like, we clearly see better for you. Like literally PE firms be formed with the thesis of just buying better for you.
Yeah, totally. It started in food and bev, and then it was like supposed to move into beauty next. And it has, like clean beauty was like definitely a thing. It's not, in my opinion, it hasn't materialized as meaningfully as food and bev, but food and bev just kind of materialized. Like, it started in 2010, and then probably this last year was like the biggest, M&A market for those types of companies. So it literally just takes like 20 years at a time. So, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. What's your thought? Because I've thought a lot about this athleisure. Right. Like athleisure, I don't know if you remember this, but like Cuts, Roan, work during COVID, work leisure was like the new phrase, and it kind of went away. So that's from, I'm always like, but athleisure, we've tried, like we're an athleisure barefoot shoe company. Like that really hasn't connected, even though that's kind of what we are.
Yeah.
Athleisure is like stuck with apparel, and I don't know, it's just an interesting thought.
When you're like purely fashion, which is like, a lot of these companies are just like purely fashion, you run into that problem of like, it's really hard to keep up. It's almost impossible to keep up, honestly. And so like you'll have your moment, and like you'll do really, really well for a couple of years, and unless you keep up, then you're screwed. But that's why like the like barefoot, like it's not exactly fashionable. It's like functional.
Well, and exactly, and that's exactly right. And why I think there's staying power is like, why would something that makes you feel better or good ever go away? And that's why I'm really intrigued to see, like, as a society, we're like moving towards this. Why would we ever move away from it?
Right. So when you talk about staying power, I think it's like leaning into things like that, where like I will speculate just with no education almost, but like there's something like footwear is interesting, right? Because it's like this, it's basically the same shit it's always been for like how long? 5,000 years? I don't know. And like, but like, you know, and like, there's like certain types of shoes that are like, you know, like on cloud, like, you know, it's a $15 billion company. And it's kind of like, is it really that much different than like the Nike shoes? Like, I love on cloud shoes. I've bought like 3 pairs. It's like basically the same thing.
It's foam, fabric, and rubber.
Yeah.
Like that's.
I mean, they're great.
Yeah,
they're
again,
great, but like they're not fundamentally different. They don't truly satisfy like some incremental new need from the consumer.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do, and I just don't realize it. But like,
no, you're right. I mean, ours, I would argue we do, from the sense of our health benefits, zero drop, white to
well, that's what I'm saying. It comes back to this barefoot shoe idea. It's actually, it's like actually,
it actually is. Oh,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yes. Yeah. You know, you didn't even know what On was 5 years ago, but they existed, right? And it's just because of its
distribution and brand
right?
and marketing.
Yeah, and that's why Nike spends billions and billions. Like, they're the masters of it, and it works to make you feel a certain way. And again, that was kind of the whole premise, right? Is like, hey, what's something valuable, but like realizing the brands that are doing it before, the type of branding, the type of messaging, there's a plateau. There's only a certain amount of people that don't care what people think of them, and they want to look different. Most of us want to buy the shoe that is what everyone else is wearing, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, why we found some pretty fast, strong growth, is we found that middle ground of providing value and aesthetically offering something different in that space. And that's the next hurdle for us is, can we compete with the big boys? Can we develop a brand? I think we do. I think aesthetic and you know, our photography or assets, like everything that we're building can start competing. And that's what it's going to take. I think we'll have this threshold, but like, how can we break through? Yeah, is where we're at right now.
All right, Isaac. Well, thank you for joining us. Where can the audience find you? You're sort of on Twitter, aren't you? You're on Twitter. That's how we met. You DM me on Twitter. You're on Twitter.
I took a break. I took a break from Twitter. I was on LinkedIn. I'm. I know. It did me wonders. I'll say that.
I'm waiting for that day.
Did it for the family. It was the right. It was the right call. But LinkedIn. Just Mertens on LinkedIn, active there. Open the DMs and happy to chat. Like, I have a strong passion like around just the financial discipline and understanding and just like talking through that. I really, what's my Facebook ROAS and how do I get better creative and AI, and like, that's just what everyone talks a lot about. And again, that's okay. But man, this is like,
this matters.
If you don't have a penny, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
Right. and that's, I think in more hard, like, man, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, with tariffs, like, man, we didn't even get into tariffs. Like, there's so many financial impacts.
It really
business. So always just knowing the numbers intimately, and having that system and process is huge. So,
all right. Well, you heard it here first. LinkedIn, Isaac Mertens, free consulting for everybody, unlimited. So send him a DM if you want to do 100 million in sales and apparel. He said he would need free.
Yeah.
All right, Isaac. Appreciate you joining the program, brother. Good to see you, and best of luck with the rest of the year.
Same. Thanks, sure.
Cool.